joining us for the first episode of Iris Lens, a live podcasting community founded by Iris Goel to help product builders upskill in AI through conversations with the people actually building it. Iris is a seasoned AI PM with expertise in Scale AI, Zynga, Arteria AI, and Study AI. She started Iris Lens because she saw the barrier firsthand and decided to start a community around AI upskilling. Today, she's sitting down with Hassan Khan, co-founder and CEO of Todaq Micro, who's building payments infrastructure for the agentic economy. Without further ado, I'll hand it over to Iris. Let's
Awesome.
get into it.
Yeah, thank you. So first question, how do you personally define AI agents? I know that's the hottest topic that we're talking about. And for a beginner, how can they actually start building their own AI agents?
It's a great question. And I actually want to start just by saying congratulations. It's
Thank
the
you.
inaugural podcast. I think it's a
Yeah.
great thing. One of the things that I immediately thought about when you came with this great idea of, lifting the whole building community, we're very early in this, is everyone's probably heard of the All In podcast,
Mhm.
right? And one of the All In hosts, Jason Calcanis,
Mhm.
has his own podcast, This Week in Startups,
Oh,
doing a ton of building in agents, but we don't have the equivalent within the Canadian tech space. So it's
yeah.
great that you're being a trailblazer for that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Congrats.
Yeah,
I'm
thank you
sure
for
it's going to
being our
go
first guest.
very well. Yeah, it's the first one where all the mistakes happen and you fall over, and
Yeah,
it just gets better from there.
for sure.
So what are agents? Everyone who is not a techie who has been using AIs has the experience of you ask ChatGPT, you ask Claude, you ask Grok a question, it
Mhm.
answers.
Yeah.
And that's a pretty passive reactionary experience.
Mhm.
An agent is where you take it up to the next level.
Yeah.
So you're taking exactly that same AI model and you're putting a software application and a harness around it so that it's not going to wait for you to ask a question. You can give it a project or an ongoing workflow or a task, and it will just go carry that out. And that becomes important, especially for people who they might be working in a company, they might have their own business.
Mhm.
Think about how much of what you do is a repetitive, time consuming task where only a small amount of it really requires your creativity
Yeah.
or discernment or specific decision making. It'd be very nice to have that automated in a nice way
Mhm.
in order to expand your reach, maximize how much you can get done, do it more efficiently. And that's really what agents are good at.
That makes sense. So what would you advise a beginner to do if they want to start building AI agents?
I think with this AI wave, much like with the internet, there was a ton of excitement early on. We're just at the start of a 5 or 10 year wave and a ton of activity, and everyone
Mhm.
gets really excited and wants to do something.
Yeah.
I would always say start with the business or the requirement end.
Mhm.
What exactly is it that you want to accomplish?
Yeah.
If you enter starting to say, I want to build an agent, uh, because of the way AIs work and the model underneath, it is garbage in, garbage out.
Mhm.
If you have a very good idea of what you want to achieve, how that breaks down into workflows, into subtasks, and you can define that well, then the experience of building an agent and actually having it being productive is it's just much better.
Yeah.
On the other hand, if you approach it where you're just like, hey, I want to build, which is a good approach too, it's probably best to do that if you're a developer and have some skills and you just love building for the sake of building and taking
Mhm.
that extra time to make mistakes, get better, and discover. But I would definitely say for people who are starting out, perhaps it is around picking tasks that they know about. I'll just give a couple of simple examples.
Yeah.
One is perhaps because of your job, you work in product or you work in
Mhm.
investing, and you're like, you know what, every week I have to do research on
Mhm.
what's going on in my space.
Yeah.
It would be very nice to have an agent that could go to all the main sites and sources where the latest news is happening. It gathers and collates that. It summarizes it for me. It sends me a weekly summation email. And then
Mhm.
if I have Q&A about certain things, I can go follow up with it. That's now suddenly taking something where, you might have spent 10 hours a week and a whole number of hours of busy work, and the agent is saving you time.
Yeah. That makes sense. So for so since OpenClaw is your open source agent framework, do you think the hype around is real, or is it just a developer toy that people use? And what are some examples, use cases that people can actually put into their daily life?
It's a great question. When OpenClaw first came out, end of last year, start of this year, and really started getting on the news. And then the CEO of NVIDIA stood up and said, this is the most important open source project ever. That was around the time I started playing with it. I'll tell you that the agent I use more is not OpenClaw. It's one called Hermes, which is another open source agent.
Yeah.
But really, any AI provider, Claude, GPT, all the main ones, they provide the ability for a user to create and use agents. And then you also have these open source versions. OpenClaw is really one that I think is optimal for someone who enjoys power building, right? And it gives a ton of options. Ones like Hermes are more designed so that you have a stable experience and it will guide you through in a nice way. And it's a little less painful, but a little less flexible. But it's better on other things like memory and stability and other attributes. For me, I kind of look at it two ways. One is to use these agents for internal productivity tasks, like the weekly research example.
Yeah.
And then the other one is outward facing for marketing, business development, and sales.
So where are we in this hype cycle? And I know a lot of people have been hyping about it. They've been producing work that feels productive, but it's not actually doing solving a real problem. So like, what is noise versus real and valuable in agentic AI right now?
Oh, wow. I think there's a lot of both.
Yeah.
I would cast a bit of shade at the main AI model providers because the entire business is driven by token consumption.
Yeah.
And you just want users of AIs to consume tokens. And as a result, there's a lot of marketing that goes out there that claims that agents and AI are going to solve everything, take over everything.
For sure.
And it's neither that, nor is it a bubble, right? The truth is somewhere in between. So there is a lot of hype. I think that with what we're seeing now, the majority of it is not going to survive. But even the 20, 30% where there's value happening, those are going to become massive industries and use cases in 2 years, 3 years, 5 years.
Yeah.
So, and then the other reason I think we know it's real is that you can see sole proprietors, small, medium businesses, startups, and enterprises starting to build agents and AIs within their main workflows of how they're doing business.
Yeah.
So it's not a case of, when the internet started in, the mid late 90s, where nobody knew anything, right? They were just doing experiments and many of them didn't go anywhere. I think there's a better sense of where value is.
Okay, sounds good. And then I know a lot of people use AI agent and AI workflow interchangeably. Where do you really draw the line and what's the difference?
I think there's a part of your question where I probably don't know the answer. The part where, to me, an agent is one where you can give it a task where it has autonomous capability. So instead of a predefined workflow, where the entire thing, the AI is performing within sort of a deterministic set of tasks that it does, an AI agent can be given something more broadly as a goal or an objective to achieve. And then the model or the set of models is going to walk through some problem solving in terms of how to best achieve it. The nice part about that is you do get some apparent creativity. And it can create a nice experience when a user is interacting with the agent. And then the bad part of it is because it is probabilistic and it is free roaming, it can do bad stuff like, delete all your data or other things.
Yeah, that makes sense. Got to be careful. And the security measure on OpenClaw was definitely not that great. Yeah.
Yes.
And since you've been building on Todaq since 2017, before most people even know about agentic AI, I was curious about what did you get wrong in the beginning?
I would say the biggest thing we got wrong was one that all builders who, whether they're building something small or they're going more of the deep tech route where they want to invent new technology, they overestimate what they can do in the short term and then they underestimate what they can do in the long term.
Yeah.
And so that one we did get wrong. I remember, and I feel quite foolish now looking back, this would have been before the pandemic, 2018, 2019. And all we had at that point was some software prototypes and a lot of math and a lot of cryptography. And I looked ahead and I was like, 2-3 years, it's going to be out there. I was like, no, that did not happen.
Yeah.
It took another 4 to 5 years of fundamental research, a whole lot of market proof of concepts, tons of failures.
Yeah.
And then it wasn't until, 2 years ago that it all came together. And we were like, oh, wow, now we can start building really powerful products.
Yeah.
And we got fortunate there because AI and the agentic economy was exploding. And we had built something that was just purely designed for machine native commerce. So on that one, it wasn't because we were smart or that we timed it right. We got lucky, and that's a part of it too.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, I know you guys just launched Quotum, and congrats on that.
Kadam? Yeah,
Kadam?
yeah, we did.
Yes. So for Kadam, like, who are the actual audience right now? Who it's for, and what is the actual use case?
Yeah, Kadam is something that hugely excites me. We actually went to market about 80, 90 days ago, first with the AI payments infrastructure underlying it. So not for agents. This is where you have an AI system, it delivers a service through an API, and they're just transacting in the cloud. And software developers would take our software, bolt a toll booth in front of their AI so it could accept payments or make them. And that just started running, and it was working really great behind the scenes as we started growing. The part about Kadam and the agentic side that I got excited about was with agents, it meant that for convenience and usability, a non-developer or anyone else using their regular chat app, WhatsApp, Slack, Discord, would be able to interact with their agent, tell it to pick up our tool, then use it to sell what they wanted or to go and find and buy what they wanted. And that step change in convenience and usability was enormous.
That's fair. Yeah, I would love an agent to just buy me all the groceries I need and then pay for it on its own, so I never have to do grocery again.
Yes, that definitely resonates, not having to do groceries.
Yeah. And I know that Anthropic also just launched Project Deal, which is an AI that negotiates and settles commercial agreements automatically. Like, when you saw that, what did you think? Do you feel like that's an infrastructure that's similar to yours?
For us, we focus purely on how do we provide the tool so that any agent and any AI can securely buy and sell. Or if it's received a payment, how does it then orchestrate things like payouts on behalf of the user? So not just the payment in, but then the supply chain or anyone else immediately can get paid in real time too. So we focus on just that part of it. So it's quite complementary to this. But what Claude did, I've got quite a few thoughts. First, yeah, the idea of it is exciting, that you'll have an agent or an AI go through the negotiations. But a part of me stops to think and say, well, wait a minute. There is a much larger, much simpler use case that exists where you don't go into the market or into a big deal and haggle and negotiate. Most of what we buy, the price is there, and you just want to purchase it if the price is right.
Exactly.
So I think that kind of payment use case is the first place I'd go to.
For sure.
And the other thing I would say is I'm not sure where having AIs and agents negotiate ends up.
Yeah.
Assuming you get to a place where an AI or agent can actually do a live negotiation, which is very different from providing the common wisdom to a human negotiator on how to negotiate. The two are totally different. And then what happens when both sides are using AIs and agents
To
kind of do that? And
Yeah.
everything compresses to this sort of like the mean. And I just don't know the answer. Like, I'm not sure how successful that would be.
That makes sense.
Let's see.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how it goes. And then, since we mentioned the security concern for OpenClaw, I know a lot of people also are concerned of like using OpenClaw on their own machine. So, do you have any tips for people to make sure that they have the guardrails, the setup, so that OpenClaw doesn't go in and delete all their files?
I think the first is you're not alone. There are tons of people doing this building, making mistakes and getting it right. So getting good advice, getting good example use cases and walkthroughs is literally an internet's reach away, whether it's provided from the AI or guides or whatever else. Generally, though, it's not a good idea to take any agent and connect it directly into your business systems, give it direct access to your core data, to the passwords and keys for the systems you care about, or to your bank account or your credit card. It's better to segregate it.
Yeah.
So as an example, with my agents, they have their own environment, they have their own chat account, they have their own everything. And that way, if it does get something wrong, it's within its own little sandbox. That could change over time as they
Yeah.
get better, but at least for now, that's a good start.
Yeah, for sure. And remember when we met at the OpenClaw meetup, you also said that it's best to not give it your own phone number when you connect it to Telegram. You will like create a phone number using Google Voice and
Sure,
then
yeah, there's a
give
number
it a
of
fake
solutions.
number. Yeah,
Exactly.
yeah, that sounds good. And then if you could explain to me, like, I'm five. According to what you've built, it's no blockchain, no card rail, deterministic settlement in the file itself. Uh, why should a product builder actually care about what you're building?
There's three main types of solutions for agent payments today. Stripe, Visa, MasterCard, you have things like Stripe Agentic payments, the Link wallet. And this is where they're taking the old banking and card rails and they're putting a wrapper on top so that it would work for an agent. And the issue with that has to do with cost, interchange fees, the 3% payment processing, the delays, as well as the fact that you're actually not in control. You have Stripe and other providers that are handling the payments in and the payouts. So you can end up with a bunch of cases where you don't necessarily have immediate control of your funds, or you've got to wait a bit, or stuff happens. So there's things it's good at and things that it's not. The second is the old, I call it old, crypto and blockchain technology. And Coinbase came out with a standard called X402 to put their kind of wrapper, not over the card and payment processing rails, but over blockchain to basically do the same thing. And that gives you certain advantages where you have more control and you've got some other things, but you end up with some of the problems that crypto has just never shook itself from. Volatility with gas and with tokens, concerns on the part of businesses and counterparties with compliance or security, and you get a bunch of issues there. So with us, we built a new web infrastructure and technology that doesn't use card rails or databases and doesn't use blockchains. It was built from the ground up to be machine native. And then what we did is we plugged it into the regular banking and payment processing system. So there's an easy way for dollars to flow in and dollars to flow out. So the difference in using that technology is it means that on cost, the cost base is far less. What's happening with the payment processing and the crypto is they're subsidizing it to make the agent usable. So they're eating up the cost of doing settlement. On our side, the cost base of doing settlement is almost nothing, which means there's nothing to subsidize. So if there's an economics today in terms of this is how much it costs me to do 10,000 transactions a day, it's not going to change 2 years from now or 5 years from now. So it gives a business more of their money back, more of control, but it also gives them some certainty in terms of when they look in the future.
Yeah.
That whole thing of subsidization, like every technology wave does it. Whoever has the most money ends up subsidizing a number of platforms and solutions so that they get as much of the market as they can. And then what do? 5 or 10 years later, they jack up the rates. So if you look at your Netflix, you look at your Uber, everyone saw how that happened, where Netflix went from a $6 a month subscription to $25, and if you're paying under 15, you're getting ads too.
Yeah.
So now we're in that same stage with AI as an example. So AI is heavily subsidized.
For sure.
And you almost know that 5 years from now or whenever,
It will jack up.
it's going to go up. We wanted to build something where that didn't happen. If you looked at the economics today, you could with certainty say, I can build my business, I can build my project. 3 years from now, 5 years from now, my economics are going to be just as good.
That's powerful. I think having the financial control and forecast is going to help a lot of businesses in the long term.
I hope so.
Yeah. So for everyone that's in the room that's interested in building AI agents, what's one thing, one tool, one workflow that you would recommend them to start doing right now?
Yeah, without being biased and saying, use Kata, right? And help us build it and continue to build it out. But if we put that aside, I think there are a lot of tools out there. Even on the agent side in these early days, there's something like 3,000 tools that have already been put out there. And it really depends on what someone wants to do. So what I would always say is to go back to the requirement, go back to the why. and what is it that they want to achieve. And then from there, the tools that you need will make sense to you or will make sense to the agent, which goes out and looks for the tools and onboards them. So I think it's less about the tool. It's more about the human being. It's the why, what are you trying to achieve, and how do you want to do it?
Yeah.
And then at that point, a tool is a tool, and you can then choose the ones that are best for you.
Yeah. I remember when we talked, you said Claude Cowork is the easiest starting point for anyone building agents, right? And then if you want to go a level up, then you have Hermes, you have OpenClaw.
Yeah, this is interesting. I mean, the more convenient it gets, especially with the main AI giants, the higher the cost implication.
Yeah.
So Claude, looking at Cowork and a number of the other models, you'll get a lot of convenience. But then once you really start using it, you could get a nasty shock with your token bill
Yeah.
at the end of the month. On the other hand, the more you go to open source, to using local models, the more the cost goes down, the more the risk of saying my token budget is going to explode goes down. But at the same time, it gets harder. So at least for someone who doesn't have unlimited budget, I think Claude is and options like that are a good, easy place to start.
Yeah.
But if they want to use agents for serious work and it's going to be eating a lot of tokens and using a lot of transactions, then they probably want to look at a more efficient version 2 or version 3 of what they're doing
Right.
to
That's
improve
where
on
OpenClaw
costs.
and Hermes comes in.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds good. What is one like personal workflow that you use in your life that you've built AI agent around?
So far, just for internal stuff, like I was mentioning, either doing research or doing small example tasks. I'm only kind of 2 months in.
Yeah.
I tend to work on stuff early, but be a little more cautious
Right.
in what use cases I'm putting it to. There's others, and bless them, right?
Yeah.
Where they're like, we're not going to wait. We're putting it right into the core of our business. It's going to reach out and talk to our customers.
Right.
Where in my case, at least in terms of how I use agents, is I learn a lot from
Yeah.
those people, and I'm grateful for that. But at least right now, where we're going next this quarter is we will be bringing agents into some of the core functions of our business when it comes to how business development or sales or marketing is done,
Yeah.
as well as how we get sort of internal workflows done. So that's our next stage of work. I would describe this last quarter
Yeah.
as doing all the testing on things where if it did blow up, we'd be like, okay,
Fair.
no big loss.
That's fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, what were some of the mistakes and learnings that you had while you're in the process of building agents?
I would say the biggest mistake was actually not moving quickly in the beginning. Is, sometimes if you start using new technology where there could be huge benefit but huge loss,
Yeah.
you sort of start to tiptoe. And I noticed that at the end of last year and the beginning of this year, I was doing that. And the only advantage you have really is speed.
Yeah.
So I had to get over that and then just be willing to move faster and be okay if it broke. And then what did I learn and how did you go fix it?
Yeah.
And then I think the other was at that time, because of the infrastructure and the product we were bringing out, and we were deep in with our first customers, we were largely in stealth. So now we've started engaging with the community just in the last week or two. It's been fantastic.
Yeah.
But if I look back, I would have done more of that sooner.
Yeah. Building in public. That's what we're
Yes.
doing right now with the
Absolutely.
podcast.
Absolutely.
So.
Totally right.
Nice. Well, I have 3 rapid fire questions for you, more personal side.
Sure.
First, any morning routine or wellness or health practice that you follow?
There are a number that I used to do before it was sort of deep in the startup go-to-market stage. What I found was that bit by bit, those things dropped off, right? Just because it became a bit all-consuming. That's one of my goals that I want to get better at. Because there's a number of either morning, night, exercise, other routines that I sort of look today and I realized, wait a minute, a few years back when I wasn't doing startups, I was doing a whole bunch of that. And now I've stopped and that's not good.
Yeah.
So it's a great question. Ask me again in 3 to 6 months and hopefully I've improved.
Okay. Good to know. We have some health goals for the next 3
That's
to
right.
6 months.
That's
yeah.
right.
And what would you tell your 20-year-old self if you could give him an advice?
Oh my. So my 20-year-old self had just joined the Army.
Oh.
Yeah. And I was a little too restless and I wanted adventure.
Yeah.
and I couldn't sit at a desk.
Yeah.
And so I'm a veteran. I spent a bunch of years in the Canadian Army. I would not trade those for anything. It was fantastic.
Mhm.
And I would just tell my 20-year-old self, probably keep going. I think the other thing I would tell that person is get into understanding and being able to do sales early.
Mm.
I picked that skill up much later in life, and
Yeah.
that is one regret because with most people, unless you're born as a natural salesperson, which I'm not,
Yeah.
sales is a very, very scary thing. And so you end up staying away from it for longer than you should.
Yeah.
So I did pick it up later. But yeah, I would definitely tell my 20-year-old self, learn sales sooner.
That's a good point. I took a sales course in university when I went to school at Waterloo, and I think that changed a lot of the ways I approach conversations, difficult conversations, negotiations, and it's invaluable skills.
Yes, that was great. Even when you suggested inaugural episode number 1 of the podcast, you're like, hey, let's do this. I was like, okay,
Yeah.
when? 3 days from now.
I know. I literally
Is
just like,
is a good close.
yeah, thank
Is
you.
well done. Yeah.
Thank you for being my first deal. We just had this idea last Friday, and then now this is Thursday, the week after. So within a week, we were able to put together a live event, and I just posted the marketing post yesterday. And so thank you everyone for coming out. And yeah, I'm glad we did it.
Amazing. It was a pleasure.
Actually, one last thing. So what's like one small thing recently that changed your life? One example for me was that I recently started using reverse osmosis like water filter, and I thought that was life changing because the water just never tasted so good. I don't know for you.
So I'll talk about one personal thing. So in the family, and my wife, she's very focused and is an expert in health, nutrition, and everything around there. And I've never been one to look at that side of life.
Yeah.
And suddenly, what happened in the last month or two? Like I'll give you an example. Like in the past, I've had a garden. Unless someone took care of it, that garden was going to die,
Yeah.
right? Or it was going to turn into like a weed thing. But I do like systems. I do like creating systems. And I suddenly discovered that it was actually a podcast. I think it was on YouTube.
Yeah.
And it was a guy talking about how you create a garden with like fish and ducks in a pond.
Yeah.
But he described it and how it actually works as a system so that you do 90% less work in maintaining the thing. And suddenly, for the first time in my life, I was interested. Like really, really interested. I was like, I can't believe it. What's happening? I'm actually sort of looking at gardening and plants and all that. I was like, the sky has fallen. So I was quite excited about that. And I think then the other big change was when you try and do something big, improvement doesn't come gradually. Sometimes it just happens. So when we were doing this particular project, it was a hard road, right, for a number of years.
Yeah.
And it always felt like we were going against the wind, we were going uphill, we were pushing a rope. And then suddenly it all came together, and in January the wind flipped. So for anyone out there who is building, who's wanting to do things, what I'd say is it's like, what do you do when you're going through hell? You keep going.
Yes. You keep going.
Exactly.
Exactly. Nice. Well, thank you all for coming. Anyone has questions, you can come on up and ask us on yourself.
Oh, sorry, you mentioned that in a few minutes ago that you weren't fast enough to, you or she were fast enough to get something out. But then I think in the beginning, you also said that people tend to do too much in the beginning of what they're building. Where do you say is the fine point where it's like, oh, like you need to move quick enough, but not to the point where you're like, oh, shoot, I'm doing way too much. How do you kind of determine that point where you're on the right track, but you're not overdoing it on your end, but you're still moving fast enough?
For me, the important part to get that right is not worrying about moving fast or moving slow.
Yeah.
It's about being brutally honest with yourself and surrounding yourself with people who are very honest, who have your back. They're courageous, but they're not going to lie to you. So that means regardless of whatever pace you're moving at, if what you're doing is dumb, and I do that often, then I'm going to get feedback really quickly that this doesn't work.
True.
And then I can improve and change. So it's less about the worrying about slowing down. And I think it's much more about just being honest and surrounding yourself with good people. And then it'll just self-regulate itself, I think.
That did answer my question. Thank you.
Correct?
Awesome. Anyone else? Come. It is my.
I had a question about mainly the agent that you has created. Sorry, oh, a little bit closer. Okay. So I had a question regarding how are you planning to monetize the solution? If you talk about who is your target buyer and how do you do measurable business value, and how do you think this AI agent will like how the clients will adopt this new solution against to the traditional one? Is that
Yeah, no, it's a great question. So we learned over the last 3 months that all of our customers that started showing up, and it didn't matter what sector it was. It was, entertainment or something to do with finance or whatever. The heads of the business or the owners immediately looked at what we were doing and pointed to a net new market that they couldn't get to. So rather than thinking about bringing AI and agents into an existing market where their product, their tech stack was there and was serving it, like every business owner, so every head has this where they're like, what's the next horizon? What's that next place I want to go? And they found that often they were blocked from getting there because of cost, because of a number of things. And they saw agents and AIs that could pay per call, pay per outcome, or be paid that way, would drop a lot of the friction and challenges to help them get there. And that was true regardless of whether it's an enterprise customer that's very, very big, a scale up or a startup, or a sole proprietor or a weekend builder. It was all kind of coming back with that same theme. That was nice because it made life simple on our end. So what we then did is we said, well, this is nice. We just have one product, one experience, and we don't care whether you're massive or you're just a sole person. We're providing you the same thing. How are we going to charge for this? So the next thing we thought is, in order to enable people, how do we make as much as we can open source, and as much as we can, people can just pick it up and use it? So for the base level of the infrastructure and the product, we said below a certain usage, before it really starts running up our costs and we're putting a lot of value in, just make it free. So as an example, someone grabs an agent, has an agent, they pick up our tool so it can buy and sell. Well, if you're not using that commercially, right, where you need to buy and sell every minute, well, then just keep using it. On the other hand, if the rate of throughput or the number of transactions is going to a point where now it's like a business, it's more of a thing for you, then at that point, we just charge per agent or per API that is powered up with payments. And it can just be like a very small flat rate subscription where it's per day. Because we do real-time transactions, we never bill our customers. We have no back office. So someone would be like, I'm going to power up an agent and I have 5 APIs my agent has listed for sale. So our software gets wrapped around those 5 things and around the agent. And let's say they're now going commercial and it's like 10 cents a day, right? So they're like, all right, 50 cents a day, it's, whatever, $15 a month, more than affordable. And I'm doing a massive number of transactions and I've saved 95% on all the transaction back office costs. That's good value. On the other hand, one of the things that always really irritated me, I think they call them internet like dark patterns. Has everyone been in IKEA? You can enter, but you can never leave. It is designed brilliantly to make you walk through all of the store before you get out. And every single one of our software platforms are designed like an IKEA store. And it just annoyed the hell out of me. I was like, if someone powers up an agent and things are flowing and they shut the agent down, they should be able to decide they're shutting the agent down and shutting the subscription down without asking us for permission.
Yes.
So in this case, our product is built. So if someone says, I have a bunch of agents and a bunch of services, but I'm closing something down, they just pull the funds out of that agent and it's done. They never needed to ask us for permission. They just did what they needed to do. So that's, I think it's important to first talk about what's the part we think should be free, what's the part that we charge for, and then how do you stop charging?
I like
which is
that.
the last piece.
That's permission by design.
Correct.
The user have the permission. They don't have to ask you for permission.
Yeah, and it's been quite a journey because even when we sat down with our customers, our entire product, like the entire infrastructure is designed this way. So as an example, who owns and controls the data on what's happened with transactions and everything else? The customer does.
Yeah.
And we had customers now been running for like 3 months. They're super happy having transactions. And I'll get a message from the CEO. He's like, we would love to have this analytics data and this is this. And I send him a notepad. I'm like, you already have it. Just talk to your guy and do this. It's
Yeah.
all you don't
They
need to
have
ask.
control.
You don't need to ask me. But it's habits, right?
For sure.
They die hard.
Yeah, that really matters, like how you design the software,
Yes,
giving user control by default.
exactly.
Yeah. You can come to the middle.
Sure, hold it like this.
Yeah, that's good.
So you said a lot of the artificial intelligence tools that we use today will be gone the next decade. So can you give us an example of that? And what's the thing that you think will actually stick with us?
Yeah. So I think the tools in their more advanced form of whatever they look like, they will be around. What will go is the early use cases that they're being put to words. So I'll give an example. Everyone's seen how a lot of companies are like, we're adopting AI, and we're going to fire 20,000 people. And then 6 months later, oops, we got to hire you guys back.
We need you back right now.
we made a mistake. We've got a bunch of vibe coded AI slop. We don't understand it. The systems are falling down. Please come back. So stuff like that those are clearly things that aren't sustainable. The other is there's a lot of predictions, as an example, that this profession or that profession, they're all going to go away. And I don't think that's the case. In some cases, you'll have more of that particular skill set and less. I don't quite know what that looks like. I think that to the question of what kind of things will remain, definitely things that are in the middle where you have the massive corporate and human experience and kind of workflows, that kind of stuff, once AI and agents have gotten into a really good solution with the right rails around it to automate it, those things will stick around. I think one of the most exciting things that will stick around is there's a lot of AI doom and gloom that goes around, but there is a bright side where I think it actually has the ability to even the playing field for startups and small, medium businesses. Traditionally, that's been like half or over half of the economy. And we've kind of been through a cycle where the big tech giants, it's like that's the entire stock market. I don't think that that's a good thing. So how would, as an example, what we're talking about sustainably even the field in the long run? So let's think about a buying-selling arrangement with an agent. A small, medium business has some sort of product. Maybe it's a small investment shop. And the head of that puts out a quarterly letter, my view on the investment markets, as a PDF. And there is a niche market that wants that particular person's point of view on the market. So how do you make the market connect? How does the service get delivered? How does the money change hands? Well, today we have this thing called Google Search and how discovery happens on the internet, which is very good at supporting the big brands, those who pay, and anything that's middle of the road, and not good at connecting the market for the long tail, where you have niche provider, niche audience. On the agent side, what ends up happening is the agent says, great, Mr. Investment Manager or Mrs. Investment Manager, I'm going to wrap up your PDF. I'm going to make it available for sale for $20, as you asked, and I'm going to put it in a headless catalog. So there's no website. It's for a machine to read. Some other agent, it doesn't matter, because I ask and I'm like, I want this. And the agent goes and looks, finds it, brings it to me in my WhatsApp, and I'm like, yeah, go buy this. That entire loop of discovery and trade happened without requiring Google, without requiring Stripe as a payment processor or anything else. So there are some bright net new markets that I think and I hope will continue to grow and expand that sort of tip the balance back. And that's one of the use cases where I'm a little biased, but I'm hoping that grows.
Yeah, for sure. Then websites no longer need SEOs. That's going to be great. Save a lot
Exactly.
on marketing.
Yeah, and think about it where you don't need native apps either. You've got the Google and Apple 30% tariff on in-app store sales, and that's massive. But again, in this particular loop, you didn't need that cost either. So it takes a lot of intermediaries out of the picture.
That's great. I think that definitely levels the playing field for the smaller businesses.
Exactly.
Yeah. Anyone else have last question? Okay.
I love the example of the loop that you gave right now. And it got me thinking, as new things are introduced in the market, there's always a learning curve associated with it. And you come from a very nonlinear background as well, from army to consulting to now here. How did you, and this podcast itself is about product builders who are also learning to upskill. How did you, in your different phases of your life, decided that now is the time to upskill, whether that's in selling, where did you go, who did you meet? You met Iris and I at a workshop where it was about OpenClaw. I'm assuming that was also to learn more. So where do you go to upskill, to learn more? Is it a platform? Do you build your own agent? Do you talk to people? What does your path look like?
Yeah, my path ends up being both instinctual and purpose driven. And that has strengths and weaknesses. And the weakness is that sometimes it can infuriate the team and around you because you're really hard to track, right? It's like trying to herd a cat. And it's just, it's not going to go where you planned it to go. It'll be somewhere else. So the first thing that leads it is purpose or a question. I get curious about something. And then the next thing that happens is I just show up. And it's literally, I get curious, I have a purpose, I have a question. I'm like, where is the nearest best place that I can go to get myself in the middle of it and learn more about it? And I just show up.
Nice.
But once I'm there and I start digging in, then what ends up happening is the realization I can't do things. There's things I don't know. I'm going to need help. Have to make a team. All that stuff follows later. And I read a ton, probably an hour or two every day. Long form, short form, audio, video. It's like this constant learning. But the learning is driven by this process of there's a purpose or a question. I show up. And once I show up, I'm suddenly like, oh, some things are good, but I'm in trouble. I got to improve. And then the rest flows. So whether it's sales or even like product, like I didn't discover till late that I was a product person and I love building products, even though I'd kind of been doing it all my life.
Yeah.
I finally understood that, that's who I am. But I just kind of repeat. This is what I do all the time.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I think that's our last question. Thank you all for coming out, and thank you, Hassan.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Episode 1.
Episode 1. Woohoo!
That's right. You have to mention me when, 2 years from now when you get the award and you're up on
Yes.
you're up on the podium.
Exactly.
That's right.
When we get the Best Podcast Award, it's when we're going to mention this moment is when we had the inaugural.
Yeah. And by the
podcast.
way, agents and podcasting, go check out This Week in Startups on YouTube, Jay Kalkanis. He has a podcast, and he went 4 months ago deep into OpenClaw and agents, and he just went nuts
Oh, wow.
in terms of using them, things that work, things
For
that didn't.
producing podcasts and
Exactly.
production.
Yeah. So he was using agents to find guests and book them.
Oh, nice. You know what? I should use that.
Yeah,
Next time I talk to you, I will talk to you through an agent.
exactly.
Yeah.
You can talk to my agent.
Our agent will communicate.
That's right.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks very much.
Awesome. Thank you.